Hello there, welcome back to another review. Today we're going to be looking at The Master, starring Jet Li, Yuen Wah and Jerry Trimble. Directed by Tsui Hark, most famously, of course, for directing Once Upon a Time in China. This was a film I did have on VHS back in the 90s. Lately it's been re-released by 88 Films. So yeah, we're getting into The Master today, talking about, is it a good movie? Is it a good Jet Li movie? Is it a good Tsui Hark movie? What I think about it, and yeah, all of that and in between. The film was made, I believe, in 1989, but I don't think it was released until 1992, like after Jet Li had become a real sort of main leading star, obviously thanks to Tsui Hark and the Once Upon a Time in China film. I think that this film was sort of shelved. I think it was sort of put on the back burner. I think it was filmed in 1989. It was also, another title for the film is called Wong Fei Hung 1992, as it definitely has that idea of like a Wong Fei Hung who Jet Li plays in Once Upon a Time in China, that type of character in sort of a modern day setting. I think that was sort of what, because originally when I first saw this, I thought it was made after Once Upon a Time in China, but I could be completely wrong, but I swear this film was made in 1989, and it didn't come out until 1992, as far as I know, anyway. But I think like the idea was that it's definitely got that Wong Fei Hung sort of that sort of characters there. There's definitely like the Poetry Lum where Uncle Tak works in reference to like the herbal medicine clinic that Wong used and operated. The film also stars Yuen Wah, as many of you will know, as the smoking villain from Dragons Forever. He's also the villain in Super Cop. He's in loads of the Sammo Hungs. Yuen Wah, fantastic, really amazing, classic, just amazing actor and performer from Hong Kong cinema. And like I say, Super and Jerry Trimble, who was two-time world kickboxing champion or something along them lines, I believe he was. And he was also, just a little trivia here, he was also in Heat with Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. But we'll focus on The Master now, just talking about it. Jet Li, you'll say, is it a good film worth checking out? The whole film is set in LA. Film opens with Yuen Wah, who plays Uncle Tak at sort of his clinic, like the Poetry Lum, getting attacked by Johnny, played by Jerry, and his thugs. Basically gets beaten up, his store gets trashed, he just gets his, he puts up a good fight, but he just gets his arse handed to him, and they just, like I say, they destroy his store. Then this girl Anna, who recently got kicked from her gym, saves him and takes him home. For some reason, like, she doesn't go to the police or goes to the authorities or anything like that. She just is like, she's at this gym class and she trips this girl up for no reason forever. So you're thinking, oh, it's a bit out of order. Then suddenly she's like, right, this guy's been beaten to death, right, I'll just take him home. Doesn't go to the authorities, doesn't go to get to the hospital or anything like that. So, yeah, not sure what. There's a few things in this film that don't really make a lot of sense. I think this is a lot of problems people have with this movie. It's still don't get me wrong, I will say here now, it is still a good Jet Li is amazing in this. The fight scenes are really cool in this. But regarding the plot of the film, there's a few things that do, from me personally, again, if you love this film, good for you. I love this film too. But there's a few films that I do sort of raise my eyebrow at a little bit. I'm thinking, would that really happen? Or why would you do that kind of thing? But yeah, anyway, so she sees Uncle Tak getting beaten up, just takes him home. Just doesn't go to the police. Then Jet Li arrives and gets mugged by these three goons. And after pursuing them and getting his bag packed, the three sort of thugs, they suddenly start bowing and calling him Sifu. Like, how they know the word Sifu, I do not know. I mean, these are meant to be like sort of Mexican gangsters, and they just start. So basically, they rob him. He chases after them, gets his bag back. Then they think, right, he's got to be our master teachers, right? Okay, cool. Basically, and then Jet finds out his master's shop, Uncle Tak Yuen Wah, has been trashed. The three guys, basically three goons that want to be Jet to be his master, they pick him up after he's gone to the Uncle Tak store, and they take him back to their hangout where they get attacked by a rival gang, and Jet sort of kicks their ass and saves them. Crystal Kwok here, another sort of, not many people, I'm not sure if many of you know who Crystal Kwok is, but like a sort of actress who was in many sort of early Hong Kong films in the 90s, I think late 80s, definitely in the 90s as well. She's in a couple of the very early low budget Donnie Yens, if I recall. She plays May and is trying to settle like Uncle Tak's store, as it's her company that is responsible for the loan. Jet goes to another kung fu school to ask about Uncle Tak, where Anna just so happens, the girl who saved Uncle Tak at the beginning, just so happens to be working. And somehow she knows who Jet is in regards to Uncle Tak. I don't know if he must have shown her a photo at some point. Maybe I missed that. I mean, I've seen this film a number of times. I've seen it loads and loads of times. I've watched it again recently. But as I say, she just sees Jet, and there might be a point where Uncle Tak shows her a photo or something, but yeah, she spots Jet. Then she takes him to Uncle Tak, and Jet ends up teaching these guys kung fu, like the three goons that were following him. Then, cut a long story short, Anna gets kidnapped, and at the end, Yunhua and Jet have to save her on top of this building, and that's basically the plot of the film. There's not really a lot to the plot, but like with all my reviews, I do try and just skim over the plot rather than just talking to you non-stop half hour just about the whole plot and every single little thing that happens. So I did read somewhere that Jet and Jerry Trimble didn't actually get on this movie. I did read that somewhere. I'm not saying the production was troubled, then they had a turbulent relationship, but I think sometimes they butted heads a little bit, maybe due to fight choreography or just the dynamic there. I'm not sure, but I did read somewhere that them two, Jet and Jerry, did not get on. Maybe, like I said, because of the dynamic or the way maybe the Asian and Westerners were treated on set. I'm not too sure, but I think I did recall reading somewhere or hearing from something somewhere that there was definitely a bit of a vibe there, a bit of an undercurrent. I'm sure all was fine, but as I said, I did read once they didn't get on. It's always nice when we get to see Yunhua going against type here and playing a good guy. It's really, because usually, like I say, films like Super Cop, Eastern Condors, Dragon's Threat, he's always the villain, and it's always nice when he's playing a good guy. Like if you look at him in sort of Kung Fu Hustle, when he's sort of a good guy, just because he's such an amazing, not only just a great Kung Fu actor, but just an actor in general. He's got a wonderful sense of humour and plays some fantastic roles in so many classic movies. And here as well, just on fine form, Yunhua, absolutely amazing, just always just looks like he's so much fun to be around. It's just always nice to see him going against type, and at the end of the film as well, on the building, we actually do get to see him show his stuff a bit. Usually not so much. It's usually he'll let sort of the main villain. If you look at the end of Dragons Forever, you got Billy Chow and Benny Urquidez, but he's still basically the main villain. Same with Eastern Condors, you got Billy Chow, but he's still sort of the main villain that Sammo fights. But he sometimes steps back a bit. He sort of doesn't really always get to show his stuff. But here at the end of the Master, he actually does. He does actually do quite before Jet shows up at the end. He actually does get to do a few. Some moves, and he does actually get to just show his stuff a little bit, which is pretty awesome. Few nice flips and kicks here and there, which is, I'd say, it's wonderful to see. And then this was one of them films, like I did mention it, I had it on VHS by Hong Kong Classics back in the day when they used to release like a dub version and the original Cantonese version. I always naturally bought the original Cantonese version, and it does have a good soundtrack, this film. I think it's got some good music to it. I think it's got a nice theme song throughout. It suits the film really well. I think the music is more than just. While not the best Jet Li film, what I love about this is it's great seeing Jet do fights. Sort of, I know he did other modern day films, like Bodyguard from Beijing, My Father the Hero, that kind of thing. But it's nice to see Jet here doing modern stuff. With like very little. I mean, there is wire work in this film, but not to the extent of, say, like sort of Once Upon a Time in China and sort of films like Doctor Wei. It's very much sort of grounded in that modern day sort of surroundings, which really does enable you get to see Jet, especially the end fight as well. You do get to see Jet really show his stuff. With minimal wire work, as I say. I mean, I love how, like I say, the three guys know how to bow to their master and the word Sifu. And Uncle Tak in this can not speak a word of English, right? He barely knows any English, which, okay, fair enough. But how he got as far as he did by like opening the store and getting as far as he did and dealing with customers who are like speaking English, I have no idea. I really do not know how the Uncle Tak character has managed to sort of run a shop and operate a shop, dealing with people that do speak English. And I have no idea like how we would be when he goes shopping and things like that. I don't know how in Uncle Tack's world, when you know so little sort of the dialect of where you're living, how he got by from day-to-day life. But obviously we don't need to worry about that. You know, but just can't speak any English. But it's a funny scene when he's trying to give this really funny scene, because I always watch this subtitled like with the original language. There's a funny scene when he's trying to give Anna money because he wants to pay sort of the rent for his shop. She thinks she's giving him money for helping her. She's like, no, I don't need your money. I don't need. He's like, take it. She's like, no, I can't take it. You know, I'm in no right to take your money. And then the subtitles, where after he realizes she's not going to take the money, he says, okay, forget it, bitch. that's what makes it. If you watch that scene, he's trying to give her money, like trying to, you know, he's like, bearing in mind she saved him, like she saved, like sort of picked him up and rescued him from like sort of dying basically. He's like, look, I'll forget it, bitch. And that's what the subtitle just cracks me up after he like say she sort of saved his life. Jet Li in this, again, amazing as always. Jet and Yunhua, I mean, absolutely wonderful, this film. I mean, because of them two stars, the film really does work. It's not to say Jerry Trimble does a bad job. I think he does a really good job as Johnny. It's just, like I say, his motivation as a villain is non-existent. But we're getting to, I just mentioned that in a little sec. But Yunhua and Jet Li, I mean, you pretty much can't go wrong. You cannot go wrong with that at all. Jet Li's sort of this naive fish out of water type. He's actually quite rude too, as well, to Crystal Kwok's character. That he's actually quite mean to her in some scenes. Like he calls her stupid. He slaps her a couple of times. He pulls her hair. Jet Li's actually quite mean in this. And like I say, with Yunhua saying "forget it, bitch" as well to Anna, he said they're quite mean, these two. At the film with Jet, there's another thing as well with this film. When I was mentioning, you know, plots and things that don't make sense. At the end, when Jet is like saying goodbye to everybody, saying goodbye to Uncle Tack, and he's saying goodbye to Anna and everybody like that, there's these like random people around them who are all waving to Jet. Like, I have no idea who these people are. If you watch the end of The Master, you watch the end of this film, there's these people who are all around Jet and just Uncle Tack and like the three goons and that. And I have no idea who they are. Like, how do they know who Jet is? Like, I don't get. They're just all waving him off. Like, Jet Li's leaving. I don't understand what's going on, but you know, so it's fine, whatever. Also, at some points, the guy. I don't know if anybody else has ever noticed this who has seen this film, but I have no idea what his name is, but one of the guys who sort of one of the goons who like they want Jet Li to be their Sifu. He changes. It's not the same guy. For the bulk of the film, it's one guy, and there's certain shots where it's somebody else. The guy with the sunglasses. If you look carefully, It's definitely not somebody. It's definitely not him with different haircut. I swear to God, it is somebody else. So if anybody knows what happened there or what went on there, I don't know. I don't know if the guy was recast, but it looks to me. I could be totally wrong, but it looks to me like it's somebody else. If you watch the film again, you'll notice it in a couple of shots. There's not all the time, the bulk of the time it's the same guy, but there's a few little shots here and there where it is somebody totally different. I swear to you. Again, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I swear at some points it's a different dude. Regarding, like I say, when you sort of things you raise an eyebrow at, it's never really explained sort of what Johnny's sort of motivation is and his reasoning for doing what he's doing. I mean, the whole film does have sort of a way of the dragon sort of protecting the shop. Somebody's in a foreign country. It's definitely got that sort of vibe to it. But there's never explained really why he's so obsessed with Uncle Tack's shop, why he's so obsessed with sort of making his life a misery. Like, no real drive here. I mean, he one point he like kills his financial guy because the stock for his sort of karate school is sort of going down the tube. He kills him, like, just cold-blooded murder, right? And then the next thing, he's kidnapping Anna and just taking her up to the top of this building and dangling her off the roof. Bit psychotic. Never, again, like I say, never explains the reasoning for doing what he's doing. Obviously, you control, Okay. I mean, did him and his thugs just like walk through? Don't mind us, just threatening these guys, as I don't like his herbal shop, hostage situation, and all that. You know the deal. You can imagine it like in the foyer of the building, can't you? Where they're just like carrying Anna up, kicking and screaming into the lift. Yeah, we're just going to dangle her off the top of this. We won't be long. We'll only be about an hour. Just going to have a fight at the top, and then should be out by about 5 o'clock. Just the premise of that, they must have had to walk through to get up there, and there must be people in the building. So, it's like one of the things when you really think about it, would that actually happen? I mean, at the end, he falls off this massive building in broad daylight, like after he sort of falls. Jerry Trimble, like playing Johnny, he sort of falls off this building, plummets to the ground like a long, 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 long way. Plummets to his death, and Jet and the support cast just congratulating each other at the end. No police investigation, and God knows what happened to all the injured students that were left on top of the building. So, like I said, broad daylight, just falls off this building. There's no police investigation, nothing. It's like, well done. They congratulate everybody, smiling, hugging. Random strangers are waving Jet Li off, like all is fine. But that's to say, that's not to take away anything from the Master, but there's just so many bits about it. You're like, what is this? Well, that wouldn't happen. But I'd say it's not a terrible film at all. It's a good Jet Li vehicle, actually. It's definitely a good early film from Jet Li, especially, like I say, in the modern day thing, rather than just like the Once Upon a Time in China's the Fong Say Yuks. Whilst the film is very entertaining, it's the weak plot, as I mentioned, that lets it down, and the lack of motivation from Jerry Trimble's character, I think. But that doesn't deteriorate or take anything away from the film at all. Jet Li is really funny in this. Yuen is really funny in this. We do get to see some cool fighting at the end. The end fight with Jet and Jerry is really good. It's a really good fight. It's not that it's a bad Jet Li vehicle, and it's just not up there with his best, in my opinion. It wouldn't get in like my top 5 or anything like that. It's still very much worth checking out. With like I say, a great fight at the end. It's still a good film. It's just not as good. This was still very early on in Jet Li's career as well, so it's still a good Jet Li vehicle, but just not as good as some others, and just with some sort of plot points here or there where you just think, what? That doesn't, that wouldn't happen. But if you haven't seen it, go and check out The Master, because as I say, it's got some good fights in it, and it's got some good performances from Jet and Yuen. Check it out.